4 months into the Gaza war, and there's no end in sight to the killing and the suffering. How long can Israel continue its military campaign as its allies warn increasingly that too many Palestinians are dying? My guest this week here in Tel Aviv is Efraim Halevi, former head of Israel's foreign intelligence service, the Mossad. For now, Europe and America are insisting that this war ends with a pathway to Palestinian statehood. Jerusalem says no. In the midst of this division, who and what can stop the bloodshed? Efraim Halevi, welcome to Conflict Zone. 4 months into the Gaza war, Israel has failed to achieve the two objectives it set itself, crushing Hamas and bringing back the hostages. What's gone wrong?
I think the war is taking longer than was expected. I think the estimate of the capabilities of the Hamas to continue to fight and to be a relevant fighter against the IDF. And I also believe that it is also a result of a miscalculation on our part as to how long this war would take.
And are the aims even achievable, crushing Hamas?
I think it's too early to say. I think the war is not over yet. I think most of the strip is no longer under the control of the Hamas. The major area where the fighting is going on is in the south, where the concentration is of the major command positions of the Hamas, which have not yet been penetrated entirely. And I think it is too early to judge whether it will end with the final defeat of Hamas or something somewhat less.
You said recently, if we end the war without a clear-cut victory over Hamas, we will not have won the war. We have to carry on as long as we can in order for the other side to raise the white flag. What if they don't raise a white flag?
If they don't raise the white flag, we will continue, I think, depending, of course, on the patience of the international community, depending on many other aspects, including the problem of Israel's hostages, which are being held by the other side. I think it is too early to make a final estimate of how this war will ultimately end.
You talk about the patience of the international community while acknowledging Israel's right to defend itself. Some of your closest allies have expressed considerable disquiet about your military campaign in Gaza. Do you share any of these concerns?
A week after the campaign began, I gave an interview to the London Times in which I said that I thought that having a what you call the territorial maneuver would be a mistake on our part, because I said in the end that it would only lead to agony versus agony. And I think we are fast reaching that point, but we have not reached it yet. And I think that Israel has a lot of capability now to continue the war, even if we will have to also devote greater attention to the developments in the north of the country.
One of the most damaging accusations about Israel's military tactics came from Joe Biden in December. He accused Israel of indiscriminate bombing in Gaza. It's a shocking accusation, isn't it? Especially for a military that prides itself on being the most moral army in the world.
Well, I don't feel myself competent to disagree with the President of the United States. He probably has more information than I have for his conclusion. I would, with all the due deference, not accept this particular statement of his, but he is certainly entitled to think so.
He's in a position to know what he speaks about. His intelligence service has the closest connections with yours, doesn't it? So,
yes.
So he wouldn't make it up, would he?
Oh, no, by no means, especially given the fact that the present director of the CIA is a man with a great reputation, and I've known of him and I've met him in the past many times, not in my capacity as head of the Mossad. And he was the ambassador to Jordan when I was the secret envoy doing the rounds for Rabin, the Prime Minister, in order to get the peace treaty. And I think he's a man of enormous capability, and also he has done things, especially on the Ukrainian scene, that have been unprecedented.
So this accusation wouldn't have been made lightly, would it? I mean, indiscriminate bombing could amount to a war crime, couldn't it?
Yes, I think it's a statement which is, in my view, too strong a term to use. When you have bombing, sometimes when the scope of the bombing is so big, you have to take into account that here and there might be hitches in the operation. But I don't think this is the main character of the way the Israeli Air Force is working and is performing. And I think that they are very much aware of the rules of international law concerning warfare.
If you're using 1,000 pound or 2,000 pound bombs in a densely populated area, it's hardly pinpoint targeting, is it?
Depends what else there is in that particular area. If the people there are using their own population as human shields, it's very difficult to have an attack and to maintain an operation without having here and there a certain event which was probably not intended. But I do think that by and large, Israel and the Israeli forces, and also the Air Force, have been very careful in the way they have operated, in the way they have bombed the areas that they needed to bomb.
Mr. Halevi, cutting food, water and medicine to the Gaza Strip has also provoked outrage in many quarters. At the beginning of the war, a senior Israeli official, Major General Ghassan Alian, the coordinator of government activities in the territories, declared that in Gaza there will be no electricity and no water. There will only be destruction. You wanted hell, you will get hell. In your view, what military aim has been achieved by cutting food, water and medicine to the civilian population? And under what circumstances is that not collective punishment outlawed by the Geneva Conventions?
The war began in a certain way. Certain actions were taken as you have described them, but very quickly Israel changed its policies and have allowed food to be brought into the area.
Some food.
A lot of food. Larger and larger quantities of food are being taken to the area. Unfortunately, this has been taken over by the Hamas forces there, and in many cases the population did not benefit from these supplies. But the supplies have been continuing all the time and increasing all the time. And Israel has, I think, realized that it is in its interest not to prevent larger and larger quantities of food to enter the territory. Unfortunately, as I say, and I said it a moment ago, the Hamas has taken over control of the food. And
you know that for a fact?
We know that. I know that for a fact. Yes, definitely. And this is, by the way, has also created at the beginning of an uprising of the population against the Hamas for this very reason.
And was that by the design? By cutting food, water and electricity?
It was not the design of Israel. It was the design of the Hamas.
No, I mean the design to limit food, limit essential supplies so that the population would rise up against them. I mean, it's caused huge hardship.
No, I don't think that is what happened. We, from our point of view, have allowed greater and greater quantities of food and other essentials to reach Gaza.
But still far less than was coming in before the war.
But the problem is that the Hamas is using the distribution of what we are allowing to enter in such a manner that many parts of the population and many areas do not receive what we are allowed to enter.
Again, coming back to your point about the international community losing patience, 800 European and US civil servants have issued an unprecedented statement criticizing their own government's, what they called complicity in your military operations. They say Israel showed no boundaries in the military operations in Gaza, which have resulted in tens of thousands of preventable civilian deaths and the deliberate blockade of aid, putting thousands of civilians at risk of starvation and slow death. They're not wrong, are they?
I think they're absolutely wrong. I don't think they have the right numbers of people who died. I don't think they have the capability to enter the area and to know exactly how many people died in a certain moment or a certain day. I believe the number of casualties that have been suffered in the Gaza Strip, to some extent, not only casualties for which Israel is responsible, but also for what the Hamas is responsible. Because if we're talking about the rules of law and international law in the war, the Hamas are the last in the world who are adhering to the rules of international law concerning how to conduct a military operation.
But under what circumstances can limiting food, water, and medicine not be a war crime to a civilian population? Under what circumstances?
But we are not preventing the food from being distributed. No, we did not. We did not prevent the distribution of food to every person in the Strip. Every person in the Strip who were not our hostages were given food and water as much as they wanted it to be distributed, they being the Hamas. And we cannot be responsible for war crimes that Hamas has continually committed and for which we were not responsible.
The International Court of Justice recently refused to throw out the accusation of genocide leveled at Israel. The court went so far as to say that at least some of the acts and omissions alleged by South Africa to have been committed by Israel in Gaza appeared to be capable of falling within the provisions of the Genocide Convention. Do you trust the court to rule fairly?
I'm not sure that the composition of the court guarantees a fair outcome, but the fact of the matter is that the court did not order a cessation of hostilities. It did not order the end of the war. In a month from now, Israel will be presenting a report on matters that the court has requested to be examined by Israel. And I think that by large, all those who believed that the court would get up and simply whistle or proclaim that the hostilities must end, this has not happened. And the court in its composition is not a court which is automatically on Israel's side, not at all. Even if we have a one judge of ours, a very prominent man and a very capable man and a very honest man, and an international lawyer of great repute, and he's there as well. And I think that from the point of view of Israel, the net result of the decision of the ICJ is that we can continue the operation, and that's what we are doing.
Hamas is a militant Islamist organization designated a terrorist group by the US and many other countries. Is what we're seeing revenge, what your Prime Minister called mighty vengeance, or self-defense?
I don't want to be responsible for one or other statement of the Prime Minister.
You don't have much time.
I don't think that this is something which I have to report on or to protect or to defend. What I will say is that I believe that we are acting in a way which is commensurate with international law on combat.
An estimated 26,000 Palestinians dead, 11,500 children, among them huge areas reduced to rubble, acute humanitarian suffering. Another 10,000 children have been left without either parent, a mother or father. Does there come a point where, in your view, it's morally indefensible to continue inflicting so much death on innocents? Whether Hamas plays a role, this role or that role, Israel is still in the role of executioner here, doesn't it?
The war began on a certain day when the Hamas invaded Israel. And the first day was a day in which the type of actions that their forces took are of the heinous types of criminality that I can imagine. Raping women, trying to take out babies from the wombs, of taking people's bodies and cutting them up in parts which would prevent even identification. I think that Israel has never involved itself in this kind of activity. And I don't think that we should be responsible for what the Hamas have done in the first days in which they were active. I have myself traveled in the south and seen entire villages that have become ruins, small towns in Israel in the south where people can no longer live for the moment. And I think that once we entered the area there, what we wanted to do is to push the entire population as far as we could down to the south in order to limit the number of people who are innocent and would not be liable to suffer as a result of that. And I think that in many ways we have paid the price for that, for some of the cases in which our people have been killed and have been treated. Not to speak even of the way the hostages are being held, which is obviously a manner in which is absolutely, totally against international law. And the people there, young people, babies, children, elderly people, all these people have been kept in a way which I think is the most distant you can imagine in terms of what international law permits.
You were asked in an interview last year what you would say to the people of Gaza in the wake of this destruction, and you replied, "I would say to the people of Gaza that it's your fault that you have played host to this group." Do you really think that?
But I don't understand what you're saying.
Do you really think it's the fault of the people in Gaza, ordinary people in Gaza, that they played host to Hamas?
I think that it's their responsibility if they believe and understand that what the Hamas are doing to them for many, many years is against their interests. It's their duty to rise up against the Hamas. Actually, by the way, in recent days, there have been growing demonstrations in the south of the Gaza Strip against the Hamas, and people who are accusing the Hamas exactly of the things that I have mentioned.
But they live in a zone with summary executions, torture, repression. Those who protest have routinely been arrested, tortured, beaten, subject to arbitrary detention, other ill treatment. Is it really fair to claim that ordinary Gazans played host to Hamas when in fact many clearly were cowed and beaten into submission by this group, weren't they?
Yes, but we do not have responsibility for the way the Hamas treats their own population. That's not our job, and it's not our, shall we say, desire that the ordinary population should be treated the way the Hamas treat them. If they want to change the situation there, it's for them to rise up, and it's for them to overthrow the Hamas. I think that is what should be expected. I don't think it's our job to save the population of Gaza from what the Hamas are doing to them.
But we now know Israel actively assisted in the funding of Hamas, didn't it, as a counterweight to the Palestinian Authority in order to keep the Palestinians disunited and unable to form their own government.
Israel used to send a monthly quantity of food and other things, and also financial help to the Hamas on a monthly agenda together with the Qataris. And this enabled the Hamas to, in some ways, to maintain its authority in the Gaza Strip. They were in charge there, and we did not want that they should be unable to buy food and to do other things as well. By the way, I will say for many years, people from the Gaza Strip used to enter Israel daily as workers, and this also gave them employment and also funding. And the Israeli hospital system in Israel played host to many people in the Hamas who received treatment there and also underwent very complicated operations in the best hospitals we have. So I don't think that it is any way to accuse Israel in this way of being improper in its treatment of the Hamas if you take the entirety over so many years.
Is Israel trying to create a new buffer zone in Gaza? Will it move its borders into Gaza despite opposition, clear opposition from America?
I do not believe that Israel will enter Gaza and overtake part of the territory. There is a part of the Knesset, of the Israel Parliament, has one or two parties which would like Israel to return to Gaza after we left Gaza, by the way, out of our own volition. The decision to leave Gaza in 2005 and 6 was a decision of Israel.
You still controlled everything that went in and out?
Yes, but
people and goods.
But we left Gaza of our own volition, and it was the desire of the then Prime Minister Sharon that we should not negotiate. We should simply leave and not impose upon them there any act or any obligation towards us. I think that that was, in my way, in my estimate, I'd say, a wrong thing to do from our point of view. I don't believe in a negotiation in which ultimately you say, okay, I'm going to leave the area and do whatever you wish. I think it would have been better if we had negotiated with them, but that was the wish of Mr. Sharon, because he didn't want to recognize them as a force in the area, a legitimate force in the area. But they were free to do what they wanted.
The current Prime Minister has ruled out a sovereign Palestinian state, a two-state solution. Your Western allies are insisting that there is a pathway to a Palestinian state. How do you get there? Do they deserve a Palestinian state? Do you want to see one? And can there ever be peace if there isn't?
I believe that ultimately, my personal opinion is that ultimately there will be a Palestinian state. That is my understanding of what will happen.
Sovereign state.
A sovereign state, yes. A sovereign state. And it's also my understanding that if the Palestinians are able to get their house in order, and this is for them, I think, a unique chance to be able to achieve sovereignty. Of course, this will only be achieved if they do not continue to allow terrorism to be used as a tool against Israel.
But they have to have something to hope for, don't they?
I think so. I think there's something.
And Israel has taken that away.
I think that in a real negotiation between us and them, I think we could reach a understanding which would be supported by the international community, by the Arab world. We are also in touch on these matters together with the United States and with Saudi Arabia, and to some extent even with Qatar. to see to it that there will be an option, a viable option for a Palestinian state in one way or another.
And if there isn't one, we just have one war after another.
I hope not. I don't want to be despondent in advance. I want to hope for the better. I think that maybe the time will come when the majority on the other side of the border at the moment will realize that it is in their interest to find a modus vivendi with Israel.
Efraim Halevi, it's been good to have you on Complex, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.